Cedar Ridge, near midnight. The kitchen held only the steady hum of the refrigerator and the scent of a half-burned vanilla candle. I sat in front of a cold Costco lasagna, the fork propped on the rim of the plate, my phone face down. The neighborhood group notifications silenced. The door swung open. Ethan stepped in, t-shirt rumpled, an unfamiliar cologne mixed with exhaust. He stopped at the kitchen entryway and, without circling around, said, "Today I slept with Sloane." I lifted the fork, took another bite, chewed slowly, then set the fork down very gently. "What did you say?" I asked calmly. "I slept with Sloane," he repeated, eyes on the tile floor. "How long?" I asked. "About a month." He exhaled, worrying the key ring in his hand. "I don't want to lie anymore. I still care about you." I slid my chair back a little, keeping my voice even. "Don't touch me. Put the car keys in the bowl by the entryway. Tonight you sleep on the sofa. Tomorrow morning, 8, I'll send the schedule. We'll talk by the hour, with a clear agenda. Right now I want to rest." He leaned against the counter, mumbling, "It doesn't mean what you think." I looked straight at him. "I don't measure meaning. I measure behavior. And I believe what you just said." He was silent. I stood up, blew out the vanilla candle, washed the fork, packed the leftovers into a container, and labeled the date. I opened the cabinet, took a light blanket and laid it on the sofa, adding a pillow. "If you need a clean towel, it's in the bottom drawer," I said. He nodded, eyes red, but I didn't step toward him. In my head, a simple list ran: change the safe code, photograph the joint card statements, contact the marriage counselor whose appointment we once canceled, ask Nora's family lawyer about the necessary steps, text my mother that I'll go to her house tomorrow night. I opened the calendar on my phone and created the entry, "Morning, 20-minute run." I didn't cry. I didn't explain. I drew the curtains, locked the door, and set the phone on the charging dock. Only one clear sentence remained in my head: no arguing. From this moment on, I will live differently. The morning before all of that happened, my home was still running on a familiar rhythm. I got up at 6 a.m., made coffee with the little machine Ethan bought on Black Friday, poured the grounds into the filter, opened the door so the neighbor's dog could run a lap through the yard and go back. I work at the Cedar Ridge Community Culture and Learning Center, managing the after-school program for the kids. My schedule was as clear as a menu. Monday, reading class. Tuesday, recycled art. Wednesday, simple STEM. Thursday, gardening. Friday, a drama group. I like the way the kids carefully glue each piece onto a model, the way they wave when their parents come to pick them up, the just right noise of a place where there's always something good to do. At noon, I eat a sandwich at my desk, edit the description for the weekend event, and check emails from families applying for summer camp fee scholarships. I get home late, but still before Ethan. Ethan works in operations at Northwest Meridian, a tech company on the north side of the city. Since Sloane Mercer was appointed to the strategy team, he's been coming home later. He talks a lot about new strategy, about a different stream of thinking, about needing flexibility. Those lines sounded like shop talk at first. Gradually, they became a cover. He changed his phone password. He started wearing an unfamiliar scent on his shirts. The first Friday evening of the month walking the arts district, dessert at the pie shop at the end of the street, he skipped once, then twice, then forgot the third time. I reminded him, "This month let's go early so it's less crowded, okay?" He answered, "We'll see." I told myself, work is busy, but the sagging feeling in my chest didn't get any smaller. I realized I was picking up a lot of things for him. I called the HVAC technician myself. I made the dentist appointment myself. I changed the smoke alarm batteries myself. He still asked how my day was, still gave a cursory hug when he passed through the kitchen, but his eyes skimmed past like someone already somewhere else. One evening, I saw him hunched over his phone by the garage steps. When I came closer, he slid the phone into his pocket too quickly for a normal conversation. "Sloane sent a file that's urgent," he said, trying to sound natural. I nodded and didn't ask more. I wrote in my notebook, "Garage, 8:37 p.m., voice changed. We have an old agreement. One proper dinner at home each month." I put it on the calendar for Friday night, turned on the porch light, spread a checked tablecloth, took out the wedding china. I chose a warm jazz playlist, kept it low, toasted garlic bread, made a green salad, and put a store-bought lasagna in the oven. At 7, I texted, "Waiting at home." At 7:20, his "in a meeting" text arrived. I sent back, "Okay." At 8, I texted, "The candle is about to burn out." No reply. I turned off the oven so the top wouldn't burn, set the tray on the table, and opened the window to let out the heat. The neighbors herded their kids into bedrooms. The little street went quiet like the end of a movie. I opened the calendar app and reminded myself, "Saturday, call Lauren for a trail walk." At 8:40, my phone buzzed once. A credit card notification popped up. A charge at a hotel right in town. I know the hotel. 12 minutes drive from home. I looked at it for a long time, my eyes automatically reading the address and time the way you read a to-do line. I could call. I could rush out of the house. I could stand in the lobby and demand to see him. I folded my phone shut and set it face down on the table. I didn't want to turn myself into a checker. I wanted to keep myself a recorder. I went to the bathroom, splashed water on my face, came back to the table and sat down to eat my portion. The candle burned down to the base, a thin strand of smoke. The lasagna was cold. I ate slowly, chewed carefully. I listened to the cars on the street without thinking. Is that his car or not? I let the reality unfolding in front of me stay as it was, even though it was hard to look at. At 9:10, Lauren FaceTimed and asked, "How was your dinner?" I switched to a voice call and said, "I ate alone. Everything's fine." Lauren went quiet for a second. "Do you need me to come over?" I said, "No, I'm going to sleep early. Let's hike tomorrow." I hung up, cleared the table, put away what I hadn't eaten, washed 2 glasses, and wiped the counter. I spread a thin blanket on the sofa, set out a pillow, and put a clean towel in the downstairs bathroom. I did those things as if for a guest. Whoever is there tonight has to sleep there. At 10 I opened my laptop and emailed the marriage counselor we once booked, and then canceled. "We need a session next week." I texted Nora, "Can you call me tomorrow with a family law attorney contact? I want to ask a few basic protective steps, just as a precaution." Nora replied immediately, "Yes, 10 a.m. tomorrow." I went into the banking app, photographed recent charges, and saved a copy into the event log folder. I opened my notes and wrote the day's final lines, short and clear. First Friday, skipped. In a meeting text, hotel charge. Didn't call, didn't go, set up the sofa, scheduled counseling. I stepped onto the porch and pushed open the big window to let the cool air into the room. The vanilla from the extinguished candle still hung in the air. I turned off all the lights, leaving a small one in the kitchen. The street out front had few cars. I set my running shoes by the door, reminding myself that in the morning I would run 15 to 20 minutes, just so my body wouldn't collapse. I didn't start crying. I didn't need anyone to see me hurt to prove anything. I just needed to keep my head clear enough not to say things tomorrow I'd have to apologize for. At 10:50, I poured myself a glass of water, set the alarm, gathered my hair with a cloth band, and got into bed. I didn't fall asleep right away. I listened to the house breathe like every night. I thought about the first Fridays we'd had, the photos stored on my phone from that first year. I saw that I'd been waiting less for cute gestures and paying more attention to repeated behaviors. I know not every marriage ends when someone makes a mistake. For some couples, the crack is where they relearn how to talk. But I also know there are boundaries that need to be written so no one, accidentally or on purpose, steps over them lightly. Tonight, I set the first boundary: no arguing while everything is still hot. Tomorrow morning, I'll start with a scheduling call. The rest will follow step by step. At 11:15, I heard a car stop at the curb. The door opened. Keys clinked. Unsteady footsteps. The unfamiliar cologne mixed with the night air spilled into the kitchen. He stood just inside the door and stopped. I sat at the table, still with a glass of water in front of me. He looked at me, not knowing where to put his hands. I said, "Put the car keys in the bowl. Tonight, the sofa. Tomorrow at 8, I'll send the schedule." He swallowed, nodded, then said, "Today I slept with Sloane." This time I didn't ask again. I picked up another bite of lasagna, chewed, then set the fork down very gently. I said, "Sleep on the sofa." He asked, "Can we talk?" "Not tonight." I turned off the kitchen light and pointed to the blanket already folded. He walked to the sofa like someone with no reason left to resist. I went to the bedroom and locked the door. If you're looking for an explosion, it isn't here. There is only an ordinary house, a dining table, a cold lasagna, and a person stating what he just did. The storm didn't crash in with thunder. It arrived with an "in a meeting" text and a hotel charge notification, and from that moment on, every decision of mine will proceed step by step, in writing, by appointments, with specific boundaries. Ethan stood by the counter, opened the fridge himself for a can of beer, popped the tab, the click, sounding louder than usual. He sat down in the chair across from me, not looking straight at me, his voice even as if giving a report. "Me and Sloane, and I don't feel regret." I pulled the tablecloth closer to me so I wouldn't have to look at his hand holding the can. "What do you mean by that?" "I've thought it through. I feel it's right for me." I nodded, didn't cut in, didn't ask why or since when anymore. Those questions had already been answered. In a way so direct, there was no gray area left. I picked up the sponge, scrubbed the candle wax streak on the cloth, and moved the candle over to the sink. "Do you intend to apologize?" "I'm sorry for hurting you," he said softly, "but I'm not sorry for that." I listened, kept wiping until the wax was smooth and clean, folded the apron, opened the cupboard to set out 2 clean plates, then closed it decisively. No loud noise, no clatter. I pushed the chair back from the table and planted my feet. "Tonight, you sleep on the sofa. Tomorrow at 8, I'll send the schedule. We'll talk point by point. No going off topic. No mentioning anyone outside the 2 people in this house." Ethan nodded, his lips pressed together. "Avery, can you hear me out?" I raised my hand. "Not tonight. I don't want to hear explanations in the middle of the night. I need a clear head for tomorrow morning." He slid his chair back, awkward, then stood and took the beer can to the sink. I gathered the dishes, loaded them into the dishwasher, and pressed the button. The machine hummed softly like a fan. I turned the kitchen into a workspace. Near the shelf, I pulled out a cardboard box and set it on the table. 1 folder, joint. 1 folder, personal. 1 folder, to be negotiated. I opened my laptop, took a screenshot of the hotel card notification, and saved it into the event log folder. I went into the bank account, downloaded 3 months of statements, and noted the automatic payments. Electricity, water, internet, car insurance, gym membership, 3 streaming apps. I marked which were in my name, which in his, and which were joint. I wrote by hand on paper. Money, 8:08:45. House, 9:09:30. Counseling schedule, 10-hour call. Joint accounts, 11:11:30. I printed 2 copies and put one into the to be negotiated folder. I texted Naomi, my sister, a divorce attorney in the neighboring city. I need to meet tomorrow. Just to ask about the roadmap, not decided yet. Naomi replied almost immediately. 9:30 a.m. at the old cafe. Bring documents. I texted back. Okay. I added a text to Lauren. Can you take me for a run around the park at 7:15 tomorrow? Yes. I'll wait at the south lot, she answered. I set the alarm for 6:45. I opened the file cabinet and pulled out a large zip bag, put into it the things to bring if I had to leave the house quickly. Passport, copies of the birth certificate, insurance card, bank book, an old USB containing personal documents, a list of emergency contacts, prescriptions. I took another tote and put in a t-shirt, jeans, underwear, a toothbrush, a phone charger, a laptop charger. I left the bag behind the door, next to my running shoes. I didn't plan to leave right away, but I wanted to be ready to live a normal day at my mother's if needed. Ethan stood in the living room doorway, hugging the blanket I had set on the sofa. Can I grab another pillow? On the lower shelf. Clean towels are in the bottom drawer, I said. He nodded, walked away, and said nothing more. I didn't watch him. I opened the cupboard above the sink, took down the tea box, and brewed a cup of peppermint tea. My hands were still shaking, but my head was gradually clearing. I set the cup down, opened my notebook, and wrote a page. Goals this week. 1. Sleep enough. 2. Eat enough. 3. Don't lie to myself. 4. Don't overshare online. 5. Every decision has paperwork. I added, questions for tomorrow morning. Do you intend to leave or stay? If stay, follow the counseling framework. If leave, discuss finances and housing first. I rechecked the passwords to my personal accounts, private email, social media accounts, iCloud. I enabled 2-factor protection for accounts that didn't have it on yet. I didn't change the passwords to the joint accounts. That belongs to the 8:08:45 session. I opened the work app and sent a short notice to the center director. Tomorrow morning, I have a family matter. I'll be an hour late. I've arranged someone to cover the reading class. She replied, received? Hugs. I went back to the table and drew a simple 2-column chart. Left event, right emotion. I wrote, hotel notification, angry, still ate full portion. The no regrets confession, hurt, didn't argue. Set up the sofa, calm, kept the boundary. I reviewed the 3 lines and marked enough. I didn't want to push myself into pretending to be fine. I only wanted to make sure I didn't do anything beyond what I could take responsibility for. I drafted an email to the marriage counseling office. Proposed framework, 6 sessions in 6 weeks, goal, pause, look directly, decide with a plan, ground rules, no interrupting, no mentioning the third person, no labeling. I didn't send it yet. I added a sheet to the to be negotiated folder. House rules, no sleeping in the same room, no bringing anyone home, no touching phones, no saying the third person's name in the house. I left the folder on the table next to 2 pens. Near midnight, I heard water from the downstairs bathroom. Ethan turned off the light, went out to the sofa, and pulled the blanket up to his chin. I took my cup of tea to the back porch, sat on the wooden chair, and looked at the neighbor's yard sunk in darkness. A light breeze. A truck rumbled along the main road. I thought about the first time I met Ethan, the wedding day, the first Fridays when we used to hold hands. I didn't push the memories away, but I didn't swim in them either. I just noted that they had happened and were now behind me. I sent Naomi one last line. If I cry tomorrow, let me. When we're done, let's eat pancakes. Naomi replied with a thumbs up emoji. Then, go to sleep. I turned off the porch light and locked the door. Back in the kitchen, I looked around once. Folders stacked neatly, the dishwasher still running, the sheet, 8:45 money, 9 gate, 9:30 house, 10 million counseling, lying straight. I stuck another small note on the fridge. Morning, 7:15, run with Lauren. I took the half-finished cup of tea into the bedroom, locked the door, and set the alarm. I drew the curtains, leaving a slit for the morning light to slip in. I placed my hand on my chest and took 3 deep breaths. My heart was still pounding, but the rhythm had eased. Before turning off the light, I put my wedding ring into the small box in the drawer, not out of anger, but because I didn't want to have to take it off tomorrow night while we were talking. I snapped a photo of the kitchen table and sent it to myself with the subject, "Tonight's plan." I pulled the blanket tight and closed my eyes. I don't know whether this marriage still has room to be repaired. I only know I've begun the first step I can live with the consequences of. Out in the living room, I heard Ethan turn over, the sofa creaking very softly. No one said anything. The house was quiet in the way of a place waiting for morning. I closed my eyes and repeated in my head, "No arguing, follow the schedule." Then I let myself drift into a fitful sleep. The next morning, I got up at 6:45. I poured some water, laced up my running shoes, and sent Lauren a line, heading out the door. 17 minutes around the park were enough to steady my heart. When I came back, the kitchen lights were on. Corey, my best friend, was standing at the egg pan, gray sweatshirt, hair tousled. "I brought donuts," he said, holding up a paper bag. I gave a small laugh, though my eyes still stung. "Sugar in the morning is a crime." Corey shrugged. "A small crime." He poured coffee and set it at Ethan's seat. I looked at that chair for a second, then pulled out the one opposite and sat down. Corey spoke slowly. "Mind if I sit here?" "Go ahead. Sit." The spoon tapped the bowl. The coffee machine hummed. The whole kitchen smelled of butter and roasted coffee. Ethan walked in from the hall, hair wet, t-shirt on, looking like someone unsure if he was allowed to take the next step. He froze on the threshold when he saw Corey sitting in the chair he usually took. Corey turned, nodded. "Good morning," Ethan murmured. "Morning." He looked at me, then at the table. "I was going to grab something," he said. I pointed to the to-be-negotiated box on the table. "Have a bite. We start at 8. Corey set a plate of eggs and 2 pieces of fruit in front of Ethan. Ethan stood there awkwardly. Corey added not harshly, "I'm here to make sure you two have a quiet breakfast. I'll leave as soon as Naomi arrives." Naomi arrived at 5 to 8, wearing a long coat carrying a slim file. She kissed my cheek, shook Corey's hand, and nodded to Ethan. "Good morning." She put the file down, opened it, laid out pens, with no confrontational air. "No threats, no theatrics," Naomi said clearly, looking at both of us. "Just an invitation to sit down and sign a few papers so you don't hurt each other further. These are 30-day temporary agreements, separate spending accounts, keep the mortgage as is, pause joint cards, marriage counseling schedule, communication rules at home, no bringing a third party into the house. Read them." Ethan looked at me. "Do I need my own lawyer?" Naomi answered, "You have the right to a lawyer, but these papers are temporary and can be amended at any time within 30 days if you both agree. If you want, I'll send a soft copy for you to forward to your person." Ethan nodded. My phone rang. The screen showed Mom Whitaker. I looked at Ethan. He murmured, "My mom." I swiped to answer. "Honey?" her voice slow and warm. "I've heard. I won't ask anything now. Come over for Sunday dinner. I'll make roast. Not to argue, just so you have a place to sit in peace." I kept my voice steady. "Thank you, Mom. I'll come." She added, "I'm sorry for anything that hurt you." "I'm here," I said. "Okay." Hung up and looked at Naomi. She nodded as if to say, "Continue." At 8 sharp, we sat down at the table. I put the money folder in front. "We'll temporarily close the joint account for 30 days, I said. "Each person pays their own share. Housing costs split in half, paid by transfer, with a weekly reconciliation." Ethan looked at the chart I'd printed. "I agree." Naomi handed over a temporary agreement minutes sheet and pointed to the signature box. Ethan signed, his hand slightly shaking. I signed after. "On house," I said. "For 30 days, we live in the same house but separate rooms. No sharing a bed. No bringing anyone home. If someone decides to move out, give 7 days notice so we can arrange things." Ethan nodded. "I can stay with Caleb if needed." Naomi jotted down. "Good." At 10 to 9, Corey stood up. "I'm heading out. Send me a picture of the neighbor's dog. I'll walk him this afternoon." He gave me a quick hug, tapped Ethan lightly on the shoulder. The door closed, and the kitchen was down to 3. Naomi flipped to the counseling sheet. "The 10 o'clock session is booked for you two. Ground rules: no interrupting, no blaming, no talking about the third person unless asked." Ethan exhaled. "I'll go." I nodded. "I'll go too." Naomi gathered the papers, put the 2 signed pages into one folder, handed one to me and a copy to Ethan. "Keep them," she said. At 9:15, Ethan grabbed his coat. "I have to go to the office," he said. "HR emailed last night." Naomi looked at him. "Go. Don't hide." He looked at me, hesitated a moment, then headed out. I watched him go, didn't call after him. I washed my hands and poured more coffee for me and Naomi. "You okay?" she asked. "Okay at the level needed to keep working," I said. Naomi gave a small smile. "Enough." At Northwest Meridian, the glass doors opened by badge, a long corridor. Footsteps soft on the carpet. Ethan badged through the gate and received a new email. "Please come to conference room B, 9:45. HR stood waiting at the door. "Hello, Ethan. Come on in." The conference room had a wooden table, 3 people, HR, his direct manager, and an in-house legal representative. On the table was a printout of the Workplace Relationship and Conflict of Interest Policy. HR spoke evenly. "We've received reports about a relationship between you and Sloane Mercer. This is the policy you signed when you joined." The manager nudged forward a packet of photos from the parking lot cameras. The 2 standing close in a dark corner, the hotel check-in time matching the time Ethan's badge swiped out. Ethan looked down at his hands. HR continued. "We don't interfere in private life, but there are 3 issues. 1. Sloane is in a group that can influence your advancement. 2. There are company expenses overlapping with the meeting times. 3. There is an anonymous complaint about favoritism in assignments." The in-house attorney added, "There are 2 options: temporarily transfer groups and suspend projects involving Sloane for 60 days with an investigation, or take 2 weeks paid leave while we review." Ethan asked, "What can I say here?" HR, "You can add anything you want, but we will rely on policy and data." Ethan gripped the edge of the table. "I've lost control. I'll leave the group with Sloane. I accept the investigation." HR nodded and handed over a consent form. Ethan signed. HR concluded, "During this time, limit personal contact at the workplace. We'll reach out when there's an update." Ethan left the room, shoulders sagging, the elevator seeming longer. At the same time, I drove through the Northwest Meridian parking lot, I didn't want to make a scene. I just wanted to pick up my husband's box to streamline the house matters. Security received me in the lobby and called upstairs. I stood waiting, arms around a tote. Lena, Sloane's assistant, came out of the elevator and froze when she saw me. She hugged a stack of files to her chest, fingers pinching the paper edges. "Avery," she said softly, "I know I'm not the one who should speak, but I should have warned you." I looked straight at her. "Warned me how?" Lena swallowed. "I saw them together in the parking lot a few times. I knew it wasn't work. I was afraid of losing my job. I'm sorry." I didn't make her stumble further. "Thank you for saying it now," I said, my voice steady. "The rest is the company's and mine." Security brought out a cardboard box with Ethan's name. I opened it to check. Button-down shirts, a water bottle, a few small framed photos, a mug that said "Best Ops Guy," a notebook, a charger. I put the mug back in the box and lifted it. Lena reached out to help, then drew back. "If you need anything else, I can send it," she said. "No need," I replied. I walked past the elevator without looking around. In my head there were only 3 next items: 10 calls, counseling, 11:30, send an email to my HR saying I'd be late, noon, eat a bowl of soup at the cafe across the street. On the way back, Naomi texted, "Do we go now or wait for Ethan to finish with HR?" I replied, "Go now. The counselor won't need him for the first session." Naomi, "Okay. See you at the corner of the cafe." I turned the radio on low, didn't pick a sad song. My phone buzzed. Lauren sent a picture of the neighbor's dog stretched out in the sun. "He's having a long day too," she captioned. I smiled, the first real smile this morning. I texted back, "Thank you." I swung by the house, set the box on the living room table and stuck on a note. "Ethan's. Let's review later." I changed my top, grabbed my wallet, and rechecked the counseling folder I'd prepared. List of questions, sign temporary agreement, a blank sheet, and a pen. Ethan wasn't back yet. I left a short note on the kitchen table. 10 meter counseling, 11:30 back. 12 yours lunch. 1 yard continue on the house item. I put that note in the middle of the table next to the house folder. I locked the door, took a breath, and drove. The Cedar Ridge sky was bright and clear. In my head there was no explosion left, only a specific schedule and the necessary conversations. I would sit in the counselor's chair and say sentences with subject, verb, and time. I would listen to the person across from me answer. Maybe we would learn how to tell the truth. Maybe not. But I knew I would not hurt myself further by waiting at a window staring into someone's parking lot. Tuesday night, the rain went on from dusk. I turned off the porch light, leaving only a small glow in the kitchen. The doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. Ethan stood on the stoop, coat wet, arms holding a bouquet hurriedly bought in a plastic bag. He looked up when he saw the peephole glint. I opened the door a crack, secured by the safety chain. "I want to talk," he said, tired. I looked at the clock on the wall. 7:12. "You get 3 sentences," I said softly. "After 3, we stop." He nodded, ran a hand over the rain on his face. 1. I've sent a termination email, no more private contact. 2. I'm attending a support group at church. Every Thursday night I'll be there. 3. I'm asking for a chance. I listened to all of it without interrupting. "Thank you for saying it," I replied. "Everything else belongs in the counselor's office, not on the porch, not in the rain." He pleaded, "Just 5 minutes." I shook my head, slow and firm. "No. Stick to the plan. Friday with Ms. Monroe." I gently unhooked the chain and closed the door. No slam. Just a very small click of the lock at the end of my hand's motion. I rested my forehead against the door for 1 second, then went back to the kitchen and dried the table. That night, I made ginger tea and texted Naomi. He stopped by the porch. I limited it to 3 sentences. Stopped. Naomi replied, "Good. I'll call tomorrow." Lauren sent an umbrella icon. Corey texted a short line. "Proud of you." I turned off notifications, pulled up the covers, and went to bed early. The next morning, the sky was clear. The yard dried quickly. I changed the sheets, washed the towels, put the bouquet into a vase, and set it on the table out on the porch so the kitchen wouldn't be cluttered. At noon, I called my former mother-in-law. "Mom, I'm still coming by Sunday night." She exhaled softly. "I have a new apple pie recipe. I'll bring it over Saturday afternoon and we'll try it." I said, "Yes." Friday night, the house was quiet in exactly the way I wanted. Radio low, the kitchen warm, a few sparse drops of rain outside. I made breakfast for dinner. 3 beaten eggs, buttered toast, a few slices of apples sautéed with cinnamon. I set 1 plate, 1 glass of water, added the salt and pepper shakers. I ate in the chair by the window, looking at the string of warm yellow lights newly hung at the back of the yard. Corey helped me stretch the line yesterday afternoon, each bulb clipped firmly to its hook. I ate slowly and didn't feel anything missing. No phone hurrying me, no one pacing through and breaking up the meal. I opened my notebook and wrote 1 line. Friday night, breakfast for dinner, finish the plate. Saturday morning, my former mother-in-law arrived right on time, carrying a bag of apples and a stack of recipe cards. She wore a blue sweater, hair neatly pinned up, her hands trembling a little as she took off her coat. "May I come in?" "Yes, come in." She looked around the kitchen and smiled sadly. "The house is tidy." I made coffee and handed her an apron. She took a pencil and set a recipe card on the counter. "Slice the apples thin, mix with brown sugar, cinnamon, a pinch of salt. The pie won't be too sweet." As her hands worked, she spoke softly. "I'm sorry for what you've had to endure. I'm not speaking for anyone else. I just want you to eat a warm piece of pie." I nodded. "Thank you, Mom." She hesitated, as if to hug me, then only touched the back of my hand lightly. We mixed the dough, rolled the crust, arranged the apples. The oven warmed, the smell of butter spread through the kitchen. She said, "This white plate is good for serving." I took it down and set it on the table. The oven chimed, ding. The pie was done, the crust evenly golden. She cut a small piece, blew on it gently, and handed it to me. "Taste." I ate and nodded. She smiled, eyes damp. "You're still coming Sunday night. I'll make a pot roast. We won't talk about the hard things unless you want to." "Yes." In the afternoon, Corey stopped by to hang the rest of the lights along the back porch. He climbed the ladder. I steadied the base. We worked quickly. "You're starting to live like a single grown-up," he joked lightly. I replied, "A grown-up eats dinner on time." We tested the lights. The whole string came on evenly. "Pretty," Corey said. "Not like a party," I added, just to see the yard clearly. We sat on the wooden chairs, each ate a slice of the apple pie my former mother-in-law had just left, drank milk, and didn't say much. When Corey left, I washed the dishes, tidied the kitchen, and opened the door to let the breeze in. Near dusk, the back door rattled. 2 kids from the center, Lily and Mateo, stood outside the fence holding papers. "Ms. Avery, please look at my reading score," Lily said quickly. Mateo held up his reading log, the points steadily increasing. I opened the gate. They ran in and set the papers on the table. I read aloud. "Very good. Each week add 10 more minutes." Lily asked, "Did you make a pie?" "Yes. Want a small slice?" Both nodded, eyes bright. I cut 2 even pieces and cautioned, "Eat at the table only. No running around holding a knife." Mateo laughed. "I don't run with a knife." They ate, then showed me a star reader sticker. I stuck the sticker on Lily's paper and gave Mateo another. "Remember to bring your log to the center on Monday," I reminded them. "Yes, ma'am." Lily's dad stood outside and waved. "Thank you, miss." I walked the kids to the door and said goodbye. When the gate closed, the yard held only the warm lights and the smell of apples. That night, I video called Naomi and held the pie up to the screen. "His mother brought it," I said. Naomi smiled. "There are people you don't have to cut off just because of a divorce." I nodded. People are separate. Behavior is separate. Keep the relationships that can be kept. Naomi asked, "Did Ethan call?" I shook my head. "No. Friday at the counselor's office." She said, "You're okay?" I nodded. On Sunday, I took a portion of the remaining apple pie to Mrs. Whitaker's. Dinner was simple: pot roast, potato salad, green beans. She set an extra chair beside me and poured me a glass of lemonade. "Thank you for still coming," she said. I answered, "I come because I love this family in the right way." She nodded. After dinner, she handed me a stack of old cards, the wedding picture, a photo from our first Friday, one of me with her in the garden. She slid them toward me. "Keep what you want. Whatever you leave, I'll keep." I chose 3 and slipped them into my bag. The rest she tucked back into the album. "It's all right," she said, warm. "I'm not keeping them to bring things up. I keep them to know time has passed." I smiled. "Yes." Before I left, she hugged me calmly. "You have a home here if you need it." The next week, I kept my schedule, arrived at work on time, ran in the morning 2 days, ate dinner early, read for half an hour before bed. I stuck a small note on the fridge. "Sleep 7 hours, eat enough, don't check on other people, only check your own schedule." Ethan moved in with Caleb on day 17 of the agreement. The house was quieter, but not hollow. I started to hear the ordinary sounds clearly. The cupboard opening, the dishwasher, the tree brushing the eaves, my own footsteps from kitchen to porch. I knew when to call and when to be silent. I called Ms. Monroe to confirm the second session and sent 3 questions in advance. I sent Naomi a short update. Finances separated cleanly. House, normal. Counseling, on schedule. On another rainy night, I sat at the table and checked my inbox. There was an email from the counseling office. "Suggested homework for the week? Write 3 things you want to keep in a future relationship, whoever it's with." I wrote, "Respect the time we set. Don't use vague phrases. Don't touch the phone while talking." I put down my pen and took a sip of water. My phone buzzed. Lauren sent a link to a 5K charity run for the center and asked, "Sign up?" I texted back, "Sign up." Corey answered in the group, "I'll be at the water station." Naomi, "I'll be at the cheering line." Late at night, the rain eased. I opened the window to let the cool air in. I wasn't waiting for anyone. I turned off the lights, walked through the kitchen, and set the last wet plate on the rack. I pulled a chair up close to the table, leaving only the notebook and a pen. Before bed, I laid my hand on next week's schedule. Counseling Tuesday, 5K Thursday, craft class for the kids Saturday. The schedule felt full and manageable. I didn't need to fill space with long phone calls or build big plans. I just needed to keep the small things steady. Tonight, I don't wait for the doorbell. I fold the notebook, turn off the porch light, check the schedule taped to the fridge, then wash the last glass. The house is quiet in the way an ordinary house is quiet. I understand that, in the end, I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I only need not to turn my back on myself. If I had to sum it up in one sentence, it would be this: I don't need to defeat anyone. I only need not to lose to myself. Each day I do a few small things right. Eat enough, sleep enough, take enough notes, speak at the appointed time. The things that seem ordinary are the frame that helped me get through the hardest month without shouting or running away. 3 things I keep for myself. When the body and mind sound the alarm, trust your intuition first, then verify with the facts. Don't argue in the middle of the night. Protect emotional safety and rights first. In the morning, speak within a clear time frame. I am not alone. Good family, friends, and neighbors are a warm coat after the storm. Call on them when needed. To you who are watching, if you are also sitting in front of a cooled dinner table, don't blame yourself right away. Stand up and wash the plate. Turn on the kitchen light. Make a cup of tea. Write 3 lines on paper. Things to do tomorrow morning. 1 person to call. 1 boundary to set. If there are numbers that need to be separated, write them down. If there are schedules that need to be moved, move them. A new life often begins with small, clear actions. Thank you for making it to the end of this story, for patiently listening to the dry appointment times and the long silences. If this story resonates with you, leave a comment. Within the next 24 hours, what small thing will you do to protect yourself? I read them all. Please follow the channel so you don't miss anything. Thank you for being here, for accompanying me with kindness and calm.